Introduction to rates. Now, when I was just going around having a look at people's books and things like that, I noticed that I think we're pretty all right with doing the problems, but when it comes to kind of like definitions and what actually is a ratio, what actually is a rate, that's something that we might need a bit of work on, right? What is a ratio? What actually is a ratio? Hey, Manix.
A comparison of two, well, no, a ratio is showing something that can't be shown in some places.
Give me an example.
Like a map.
Like a map.
Can't have a massive map the size of the Earth to show the Earth.
Yeah, right. That's an example of why ratios are useful, right? We can scale down a map into something that's much smaller. But go back to the original thing. A ratio really is just a comparison of two things, right? You're saying like 1 cm in this map represents 1,000, or 1,000 centimeters in real life, right? Something like that, right? You're comparing two things. A rate, though, is different, right? Because with a ratio, we're comparing the same thing. We're comparing length, and we're comparing them in the same units. A rate is something different. A rate compares different quantities with different units. Can you write that down for me? A rate compares different quantities with different units. A rate compares different quantities with different units. What do I mean by that? Well, this word rate, have you guys seen that before anywhere? Yeah. And where have you seen it? Yeah, where have you seen it, Blake?
Some places.
Some places. Someone be a bit more specific. Where have we seen this word rate? Like that's a pretty common word, but like where have we seen it before? Yeah.
When you have to pay council rates.
Oh yeah, council rates, right? So council rates, for example, right? You're paying dollars per something, like maybe for your electricity. You might use, or units of electricity are pretty confusing, but they use, what do they actually use for units of electricity? I think they use watts, like maybe watts or kilowatts or something, per watts, amount of watts, right? Or if you're thinking about, what other kind of things do you pay the council for? You pay them for?
Pay them for council pickup.
For council pickup, yeah. What other resources do you use at home that you'd pay the council for? Yeah, Jackson?
Water.
Water, right. The dollars per
Natural gas.
kiloliters. Gas, yeah, all that kind of stuff, right? Council rates, great example. Do you have another one, Jesse? You're going to say something. No? Jackson, yeah? Bore water, yeah, right. So we're looking at council rates. That's one type of rate. Where else do we see rates? Pretty common word. Yeah, Liz.
Rate something so that you rate it.
Yeah, if you rate something, that's probably like in a different kind of context, yeah. But rates, I'm thinking, another one, a very common one. You guys aren't driving yet, but when you talk about how fast you're going, how do you describe how fast you're going? Kilometers.
Per hour.
Ah. Can you see how that's a rate, right? You're comparing one quantity, for example, 60 kilometers per hour, right? You're comparing one unit of length, one unit of time, that's a rate, okay?
Yep.
Another one, when you go shopping, you think about dollars per
100 grams.
100 grams or kilograms, right? All of these are rates, right? All of these are rates. How do we answer questions with these? Let me give you some examples. The first thing to realize is when we are expressing things as a rate, right, we can express them in a whole variety of ways. For example, this is a rate right here, 60 kilometers in 2 hours. That's how much I've traveled, right? But often when we talk about rates, right, you guys gave me 60 kilometers per hour, right? We call this a unit rate. When you're expressing something as a single quantity, that's what we call a unit rate. So you have something as one of the units as a single quantity. Does that make sense? So I'm not talking about necessarily time, like you could be expressing these as something per hour, but for example, something per 1 kilo or something per 1 hour of work, right? Often when we want to simplify these, we want to express them as a unit rate. Okay, that's what they generally ask you to do. Okay, how do we go about doing that though, right? Well, we want to think, okay, 60 kilometers in 2 hours, I want to get to 1 hour. How would I do that, Blake?
divide the hours by 2, so you
Okay.
get 1 hour.
Right.
And then you have to divide the kilometres by 2, so you get 30 kilometres in 1 hour.
Okay, so kind of like when you're thinking about equations or fractions and things like that, right? Whenever we do one operation, we need to do another operation to balance that out. So can you just have all eyes on the front right here, right now? Okay, because this is the most important part. Because if you're not following for this one, you're not going to follow for the rest of them, right? So we've got 60 kilometers in 2 hours. I want to work out how much I want to have in 1 hour. The idea is you want to think, right, how do I get from 2 to 1 by dividing? Well, we're really just dividing by 2, aren't we? Dividing by 2 to do that. So we can do the same to this side over here. So 30 kilometers in 1 hour, yeah, that's our unit rate. We can express that as 30 kilometers per hour, like that, okay? Jot that down for me. Any questions about that one? And the great thing is it doesn't matter what kind of numbers they give you. They can be large, they can be small, they can be decimals, they can be odd numbers. As long as you have this idea that, hey, a unit rate is expressing something as a single quantity, that's what I'm looking for, right? So 3 hours, right? As a single quantity, I'd want to get to, again, just a single hour. So this time I'm going to be dividing by 3. Nick, what would I get if I do that to the other side there?
You'd get divide 3.
I'd divide 3? And what would I get?
You'd get obviously. Like 40.
40. 40 kilometers in an hour. So 40 kilometers per hour, which is our school zone speed, right? 40 kilometers per hour.
Only on school hours though.
Only at school, that's great, mate. Only at school hours, right? Next one for me, Sunny, can you help me out? I've got $10 per 2 kilos. How do I get to my unit rates? Yep. Okay. So that gives me 1 kilo, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So what I do to one side, I'm going to do the other side. I'm also going to divide this one by 2. And so 10 divided by 2, that's going to give me $5 per kilo. Here's the interesting thing, right? No one really batted an eye when I use this word per. But when I think about per, right, that's the same meaning as this kind of slash going on here, right? It's the same kind of meaning. Exactly right. The slashes mean per. They even mean divide, right? Because if you think about it, this is just 60 kilometers every 2 hours, or per 2 hours, right? 60 divided by 2, that just gives you 30. So one thing you can think about is, hey, I can just divide by whatever number is over here as well, if that's an easier way to think about it, right? Yeah, so the next one, Jesse, what do I do for this one?
200
Yeah.
slash 20.
Right, yeah, it's 200 divided by 20, right? So once you realize that idea, you can actually just take this value and divide it by this one over here. Just being careful though, right, that you're actually thinking about, okay, which quantity do I actually want, right? I'm trying to express this as something per a single hour of work. I'm going to do 200 divided by 20. That's just going to be $10 per hour. So is that your wage, Manix? Where do you work?
I work at a farm.
I work at a farm. Okay. Does anyone else work, by the way?
No.
Yeah? Some of you. And as you start working, right, this is really important. This rate of dollars per hour is really important because once you start working, you'll realize there's actually a minimum wage that you are meant to be paid once you reach a certain age. I'd say that once you're thinking like 14 and something, I think it's about $11. $14? Yeah, I'm not too sure. We'll have to look that one up. The thing you want to be careful of though is this, right? Let's look at this kind of quantity, $25 per 500 grams. When I'm looking at $25 per 500 grams, Nick, I want to think, hang on, what's my unit rate here? Because I said we want to express it as a single thing. So like 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 kilo. What's the unit rate of this guy?
500 grams. So that's the weight, so you can still do kilograms.
You could do kilograms. Could you do anything else?
Wouldn't you just half both them so
You can still use grams.
If you halve both of them, what am I halving? I'm bringing this to what?
250.
Yeah, is that a unit rate though? Like, what do I mean?
We want to
You
times it by
do $1. Oh, so here's the thing, right? So Sophie suggested, oh, why don't we just do $1? Right? Think about what these things actually mean, right? $25 per 500 grams. Do I want to know how much I get for $1, or do I want to know how much a kilo, like how much a kilo is going to cost? Like it's sort of a bit ambiguous, right? Generally, we'd say, oh, like when you think about your shopping prices, right? Go back to this one. You generally write things in prices of how much you're getting per kilo, like how much it costs per kilo, or how much it costs per 100 grams. But it's okay to express it as how much weight you're getting per dollar as well, okay? So let's look at this one here, $25 per 500 grams. I'm going to suggest two things. You could express them as a kilo pretty easily. This time to get a kilo, what would you need to do? Not, right, exactly. So don't always just think, oh, just do the division there. Sometimes you might say, oh, to get the single kilo, yeah, right. We'd multiply both things by 2. What's that going to give me? $50 per kilo, pretty expensive. Yeah, reckon that's easier? Yeah. Yeah, it might be like a Scotch eye fillet, yeah. The other thing though is often when we're expressing things at a shopping market or supermarket, we express them as 100 grams to buy. So they may actually ask you to specify how much is it going to cost per 100 grams, right? So having a look at this one over here, right? This is $25 per 500 grams. How do I get from 500 to 100? Divide by 5, that's right. Yeah. Can you guys see that?
$5.
Yeah, so you divide this one by 5 as well. So you can also divide by 5 to do that. $5 per 100 grams. What questions do we have about that? Pretty good?